The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello, and welcome to the Hoop Ball DFS Today podcast. I am your host, Mike Apotrio, joined by my good buddy Keith, here to break down this wonderful Wednesday, February 10th card for you guys. We got 9 games to talk about. We got some good stuff to jump into. But before we do, Keith, my good friend, you've been holding it down on these Tuesdays without me. I appreciate you, man. I don't know if you listened to the last show. I can't say thank you enough to everybody on this DFS team and our listeners. But thank you, man. But how are you? How you been? Really looking forward to doing this with you.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have the good and great Mike Apotria back, and we held it down without you, but nothing compares, my friend. So happy to have you back and get rolling with this 9-game slate tonight.
See, he says that, and Keith is genuinely a nice guy, but I'm also his boss. So, no, in all seriousness, man, thank you. I appreciate it. It's awesome being able to do this with you guys and being able to do what you love. So, while things are still a little rough, having that little go-to thing that puts a smile on your face is something that you need during these times. So that's why I'm here, and I love doing this, guys, and I love being able to do this with you, with everybody else on the team, and doing this with and for our listeners too. So I'm really looking forward to it. Before we jump into anything, though, let me just give a quick shout out to MyBookie. If you guys haven't already, go check out mybookie.ag. Hopefully, if you bet on that Super Bowl, you were over at MyBookie, and hopefully you took that Bucks money line. Nonetheless, even if you didn't, you got plenty of chances to get that back. We got the NBA going on every single night. Head over to mybookie.ag, and if you use that promo code HOOPBALL, HOOPBALL, they'll give you a 50% deposit match on up to $1,000. So it's quite simple. You put in $1,000, or hey, maybe you put in $100. They will match 50% of your deposit and give it to you for free to play with. That's money for free that you can win more free money with. So, guys, take advantage of it. Jump in there. Use that promo code HOOPBALL. That is HOOPBALL. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention our good friends over there at Manscaped as well, guys, with all of their fantastic products, whether or not you just want to get the perfect package kit for travel, whether you want to get it for yourself, whether it's a gift for somebody else, head over there to manscaped.com. Use that promo code HOOPBALL20, HOOPBALL20, and you get 20% off plus free shipping on your entire order. I always tell people, maybe just try one thing at a time. But I guarantee if you get that perfect package kit with the Lawnmower 3.0, with the boxers, the body wash, with the conditioner, with all the good stuff that it comes with, you will find at least 2 to 3 of those products that you will see yourself using on a daily basis. Hopefully it's not the boxers. Hopefully you guys are changing those more often. But we will keep it moving, man. Keith, I'm looking forward to this slate. This is a fun one. I like these little middle-of-the-week slates. 8 to 9 games. I'm a 6 to 9 game wheelhouse kind of guy. So this is right where I'm looking. We'll jump right into it. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game is when this first one will take place. We have the Toronto Raptors traveling to Washington to take on these Wizards. So as far as the injury report goes, obviously something that we are going to continuously monitor throughout. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you're following us on Twitter. You'll see us tweet out a lot of the information. And that's if you're not in the Discord too, where you can get it readily available for you. Highly recommend getting that fantasy pass, or at least the DFS pass if you're listening to this. But for the Raptors, OG is questionable. Malachi Flynn, Jalen Harris, Patrick McCall all ruled out. And for the Wizard, it is just Thomas Bryant. That is being ruled out at the moment. No game total, no spread. Kyle Lowry, injured, back spasms, took him out of that game in the last one. He is not on the injury report, though, so we should expect him to play. So I'll pass it over to you, Keith. We'll start with this Raptors team. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Kyle Lowry with those back spasms. I mean, he's pretty hard to trust any cash builds you're trying to go with, but he's actually my favorite GPP pivot on the slate, probably. Just because, I mean, this Wizards backcourt is terrible. I think this whole game is going to have a lot of backcourt value, and Russell Westbrook's going to be in. He might give some people trouble, but Bradley Beal is not exactly a great defender. And, they just give up a lot of points to the backcourt. So I do like Lowry and GPPs. Don't like him in cash. So for cash, I'd rather spend up and pay the 8,600 for Van Vliet. He's same reasons. He's going to have a big game. The Wizards are bad. So the other guy I'd be looking at, though, is actually in the front court, and that's Chris Boucher. He's a big man, and the Washington Wizards are struggling to even nail down their big man rotation right now. They have Alex Len that they just signed. They've got Rolo in there. They've got Mo Wagner, but they don't know who they want to play, and all of them are not necessarily great defenders. So Boucher at 5,900, I like his play as well, especially for GPPs.
Yeah, I don't think you could really go wrong with anybody on this Toronto team that you're looking at. We've been, if OG's ruled out, Powell will probably draw that start. He's priced out. He's the one guy I'm probably not looking at 6,800. I just don't know how much, juice is left in the squeeze right there. But if you want to look at Lowry, I don't mind it. Van Vliet, 8,600. I don't think I'll go to Van Vliet just because there's a few guys a little bit cheaper that I have interest in. So I think I'll probably be looking at Lowry and Boucher. Boucher, fantastic point per minute guy. The only worry that we ever have with him is the minutes, but minutes have been confidently coming. He's been getting, if he gets a high 20 minutes, he's looking at probably about a floor of 28 to 30 with the ceiling of, we've seen it several times this season, 40 and 50. So I'll be looking at Boucher, and I think I'll be looking at Lowry on this side of the ball. We'll slide over to the Washington side of the ball, and this is a side I probably have a little bit more interest in. I mentioned another guy, Russell Westbrook, coming in at 8,400. I'm always game to play Russell Westbrook. This is a game I anticipate being maybe a little bit close. Toronto has been basically keeping things competitive. They've been playing much better as of late. With that being said, things are still fairly competitive with them. So at 8,400, getting a guy that we know can triple-double on a nightly basis, who feels like he has a floor of about 40 DK points and a ceiling of 50 to 60, sign me up. I'm good with that. So I'll be playing some Westbrook. And then the only other guy I'm really going to be looking at on this side of the ball, and you touched on him a minute ago, it might be that guy Alex Len. We talked about it on the last, I think on the last show that we did, that 8 minutes in that start, it was the front half of a back-to-back. He played 21 in the next. He went 5 for 5 from the field. We can't expect that. Put up 26 DK points, but this is against the team that just released him. So, there's always that little revenge narrative, and, I don't trust him in cash, but I'll mention it for GPPs, and for that sole reason, that revenge narrative, I will have a little bit of interest in GPPs. That's it, though. Just some Westbrook and Len. How about yourself?
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up there. I didn't even think about the revenge game narrative, but I just can't bring myself to play Alex Len. I've watched the guy play his whole career, and he has up and down games, and there's a reason that he's been released by teams, and that's the reason I like Rolo a little bit better. He's just 3,600 on that price tag, and I think he's just more solid. And as long as he's getting 20 minutes in a game, I think he's got a solid floor. I don't like him to score a bunch of points. Obviously, he's Rolo. I mean, come on. But if you need to save some salary, I don't mind going to Rolo at 3,600. And in case Alex Len only gets those 8 minutes or something like that again,
and that's exactly that could happen. Yeah. That could easily happen again. It wouldn't shock me one bit. Like you said, they don't really know what they want to do at center. That's why they just picked a guy up off the street and started him. They're kind of figuring that out on the fly. But we'll move on to the next game. Atlanta Hawks traveling to Dallas, take on the Mavericks. Really excited about this game. I'm a Mavs fan, but anytime that it's a Trey versus Luka showdown, it's generally pretty fun, and we got to get our popcorn ready for it. But for the Hawks, Bogdanovich, Chris Dunn, DeAndre Hunter, Rajon Rondo, all ruled out. For the Mavericks, Tyler Bay, Nate Hinton, Tyrell Terry, all ruled out. Nothing really important. These guys are just in the G League. So we'll start with this Hawks team. 9,900 for Trae Young. We're paying for him. Anytime we see these two teams face off, we generally get pretty good games. Trae Young didn't struggle with his shot necessarily, but he wasn't aggressive in that first game. He was 8 of 18, only 41 DK points. So at 9,900, not somebody I'm overly interested in. Dallas actually has been playing very good defense. Despite their enormous losing streaks that they were having a lot of close losses. So I don't think I'm going to be going to too much on this Hawks side of the ball. I will be taking advantage of some of these wings with DeAndre Hunter out, whether it's Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish. I think these guys are going to be pretty viable. Outside of that, maybe a Clint Capella, but at that $8,600 price tag, we're still paying that elite Clint Capella price when he was grabbing 20 boards and blocking 10 shots. So I'll probably end up taking a pass on him as well. How about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. I do like Cam Reddish as far as the wings go. This dude, he shot 1 for 8 in their last matchup against the Mavs. He can't shoot that bad again. And then the game after that, he got 14 shot attempts up, and again he shot like crap. But assuming he hits some of those shots, he's probably gonna hit some value there at 4,800. The other guy that you kind of skipped over that I do have some interest in is John Collins, and he absolutely tore up the Dallas interior defense last time to the tune of 53.5 DK points. I mean, I don't think he's going to shoot 76% from the field again, but I think this is still a decent spot for him to really tear up that Mavs defense and really put up a pretty decent game for just a $7,500 price tag.
Yeah, I don't blame it. I mean, he's been playing much better, and he's always in that nice, comfortable price tag where he's priced appropriately. The floor is usually right around 30 points. Ceiling could be 50. That's the price we want to pay for a guy like that. 7,500 smack dab in the middle. So I don't mind him. Just not a guy that's necessarily popping off the page for me just right now. On the Mavs side of the ball, though, Luka Doncic coming in at 10.8, Porzingis at 8.6. These guys are priced appropriately. But it's Luka Doncic. We know what he can do. He's the guy I'm looking at in this matchup. 10-8. He's going to have great pace to go with. He already torched his team for 60-plus DK points earlier in the season. And like I said, it's almost like, that I guess we could call it that narrative between the guy that you should have picked in the draft kind of thing. But nonetheless, Luka's tore up the Atlanta since he's been in this league. So I will have some interest in him. And then with this team fully healthy, it's kind of hard to be invested in a lot of these ancillary pieces, knowing that Porzingis and Doncic are pretty much absorbing a usage of close to 60% between the two of them. There's not a lot left. You can look at these wings between Hardaway and Josh Richardson. They're both priced appropriately, so you're really trying to catch lightning in a bottle and just hope you get them on a hot shooting night or one of those defensive nights where they get 2 to 3, 4 steals, whatever it may be. Not guys I'm confident in, but I'm not just going to cross them out of my player pool just yet.
Yeah, I'm not big on the wings. I never pretty much am. I mean, I did like Josh Richardson when he was ahead that deflated price tag, but now it's come up and I just can't play him. One guy I do like though at the price tag is Maxi Kleber, 4,600. He's getting big minutes again, coming back from an injury or being the health and safety protocol, I think it was. And $4,600 for his salary. The only reason I like him so much is because this game's going to be paced up a lot. And I think that really helps him out. He's a 3-and-D kind of guy. He's going to hit threes, going to get some blocks. So I like the paced up game at that price tag for Maxi Kleber.
Yeah, I can definitely see myself maybe using him in cash. GPPs, I wonder about the ceiling sometimes. He's not aggressive enough. He's never usually taken more than 6 or 7 shot attempts. You really need him to have a large rebounding, big defensive night for him to, hit that like 30 to 35 point ceiling that we know is there. I like to target him a little bit more in the GPPs, knowing when Porzingis is sitting or one of those bigs are out of the front court and he gets a little bit more rebounding upside. But he's been hitting that cash price tag at that value, so I'm glad you mentioned him.
Yeah, definitely. I would stay away from the GPPs for sure.
Oh, yeah. Indiana Pacers traveling to Brooklyn. Take on the Nets, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Nets on the second half of a back-to-back in this one after the Pistons put in that work. So there's no injury report yet released for the Nets. But for the Pacers, Brian Bowen, Karis LeVert, Cassius Stanley, T.J. Warren all ruled out. This game does not have a game total, does not have a spread. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it in that last one. Atlanta, Dallas, the spread was total was 233.5. The spread, Dallas favored by 4 in that one. So that is actually the largest game total that we have available. We only have 4 game totals as we record this the night before. So we'll drop in here. We'll talk about this Pacers team. I love this game. You got to love any team that's going against Brooklyn. It is just the new thing. Let's be real. This team gives up a ton of points every single night. Brooklyn plays little to no defense. We just saw the Pistons, a team that has their number one's Jeremy Grant. And listen, he's been absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to say a bad thing about him, but he's not anybody that came into the season did not think that Jeremy Grant was going to be a number one option on the team. Nonetheless, they've got 122 points dropped on them by this Pistons team between Plumlee, Sadiq Bey, DeLon Wright, and my man Grant. So I'm going to have some interest in this Pacers team. Domantas Sabonis coming in at 8,600. Gotta love him. I can't imagine that he's not one of my favorite, priced up big men at 8,600. I could see myself getting a fair amount of shares of him. And then Miles Turner at 6K. One of these two guys in the front court, if not both of them, should hit and exceed value. I'll have a ton of interest in both these guys. And even if you want to take shots on these ancillary guys between Jeremy Lamb, probably wouldn't be TJ McConnell for me, but Jeremy Lamb, maybe like a McDermott. I wouldn't knock it just because this team is probably going to score close to 118 to 120 points again. That is a substantial amount over their season average, meaning that this is a pace up and a tick up spot for every single person on this Pacers team. So that's my piece. If you wanted to play Brogdon, wouldn't mind it. Not a guy that I'm immediately focused on right now. For the most part, it's the front court.
Yep, I've got Sabonis and Turner and Lamb here, so those are my three top guys. And Sabonis is definitely the cash guy. Turner, more of the GPP guy. I mean, he's got 50 DK point upside, and he's only 6,000. So I love that for GPPs for sure.
Awesome. I'll slide over to the Brooklyn side. I'll let you start off with this one. Lead us off with Brooklyn. Who are you really looking at? This is the second half of a back-to-back. Still no Kevin Durant.
Yep, second half of a back-to-back. No Kevin Durant. I really wanted to take a look at their center rotation tonight because it's no secret. They're struggling to really defend the interior, and they can't keep doing that if they want to win basketball games. So I was really trying to look at what they were doing with the center position, and they've been playing Norvell Pell and Noah Vonleh. They just signed that guy, but those guys only got 12 minutes combined tonight. So, I think DeAndre Jordan still gets the bulk of the minutes. I don't like him at that price tag. The only guy I'm really looking at to play would be James Harden. That's only because Kevin Durant's out, and I don't even like him that much, to be honest with you. So I'm probably largely staying away from the Nets just because of the price points and what they bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with James Harden. I had loads of shares of him tonight. Worked out well. Just the usage that he's going to see. The more comfortable this guy gets, the more aggressive he's going to be. He's pretty much playing on ball. The assists will be there. The boards, they're going to come, especially with having no guys in this front court, like you mentioned. So I think at 10-4, I definitely have some interest in him, especially knowing that this once best defensive stopper that Indiana had in Victor Oladipo is no longer there. So I'm a little less scared off of just that exact position matchup. Kyrie at 9-1. Keep an eye on him. He was questionable coming into tonight, might be limited or even ruled out tomorrow. And even if he's ruled out, give an even bigger bump to Harden. And then we could also even take stabs at guys like, Bruce Brown or TLC if we need to as well. But that's pretty much it. It's Harden with the news that we have now. And if Kyrie ruled out, you can pretty much take a look at, Bruce Brown, TLC, even like Joe Harris, 6K. I'll pass on that. I'm not going to play Joe Harris at 6K. Next game, Charlotte Hornets traveling to Memphis, take on the Grizzlies in this one. As far as an injury report goes, Charlotte Hornets, Vernon Carey, Nate Darling, Devontae Graham, Jalen McDaniels, Grant Riller, all ruled out. For the Grizzlies, Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr., Sean McDermott, DeAnthony Melton, Jonte Porter, Killian Tilly, and Justice Winslow have all been ruled out. A lot of bodies missing for this team. We have a 226 game total. We have Memphis favored by 4 in this one. I'll pass it over to you. I'll let you start with Charlotte. Why don't you break down who you're looking for?
Yeah, there's two guys in Charlotte I like. The first one being Gordon Hayward, 7,700. I always like this guy. He's just one of my favorite cash game guys, just because if he's not going to be over 8K, he's just such a safe play. I mean, he's gonna put up 30 to 40 DK points easily any given night. He's just such a huge part of what Charlotte does. And if you're not playing Gordon Hayward, I'll take a look over at Terry Rozier too. I usually don't target Scary Terry. He's just been so inconsistent in his career, but with Devontae Graham just on the sidelines, I mean, you really have to give this guy a hard look, and he's been playing really well. He's starting to play like the player that the Hornets really went out to sign when they signed him. So Scary Terry and Gordon Hayward are the two guys I'm looking at on the Hornets.
I'm right there with you, and I would even slide in maybe a share or two of Cody Zeller if you're playing multiple lineups. He's just been rock solid, as consistent can be. And they're going to probably use his size and need his size against Jonas Valanciunas, 7-footer, who we know that they've been running PJ Washington at center, but he is undersized. I can't see them getting away with that for too long against Jonas. That's it, though. And even then, probably not too many. I'm with you, though. I think Rozier is a rock-solid option, 62. Playing off ball now with LaMelo in the starting lineup, but that's okay. We don't play Terry Rozier hoping for those 10 assist games. We play him hoping that he gets 24, 25 actual points, and then we're looking at 40 DK points. And anytime Gordon Hayward, you said it perfectly, under 8K, he's in play. LaMelo Ball is going to draw a lot of ownership, and I hope so because I will probably play Westbrook over him. That's just how I'm feeling right now. I don't knock you if you're on the other side of the coin on that one. They are both triple-double threats, and they both have tremendous upside at similar prices. Memphis side of the ball, though. Joval coming off an absolutely monster game. The minutes are back for him. They need him to play big minutes in this front court. He was 8 of 12 shooting, but the 20 rebounds, That's what we want to see. We want to see these big rebounding games. So at 7,400, you can't cross him out of your player pool. You got to have interest in him right now. I'll be taking a pass on Ja Morant for now as well. The minutes are back up, but I'm still not seeing the things I want to see from Ja. I don't know if it's lingering ankle issues from what he hurt earlier in the year. I don't know if it's just trying to get into a rhythm or a funk that he's in right now. Nonetheless, not really enticing me. So it's going to be Joval, and I'll be looking at a little bit of Kyle Anderson, knowing that he's going to see significant time at the 4. Desmond Bane drew that start in the last one. He's 4,100. But keep in mind that Grayson Allen and him are probably going to trap those minutes right down the middle. We saw that last one. Desmond played about 26. Allen played about 21. That's about a 48-minute total, just about. So it's almost it wouldn't surprise me if it gets even more of like a 24-24, but I'd probably prefer Bane at this point. So that's it. It's going to be Anderson. It's going to be Joval and maybe Bane if you need some value.
Yep. Again, we're pretty much on the same page again, so this is going to go quickly. But I do like the Desmond Bane at the 4,100 price tag. I like him more for GPPs, obviously, just like you said. I mean, it's going to be those guys splitting minutes. If Bane gets up 11 shots again and hits a good portion of them, he's going to hit the value there at 4,100. I do like Ja Morant for a GPP play also, just because of what you're saying. There's a narrative floating out around there. Around in the world in the ether that Ja Morant's ankle injury is still bothering him, and it is something that's difficult to come back from. But I think he's still solid. I think he's still got it going on. He's just trying to get his groove back, and this could be the game that he does it. So I like him as a GPP play, but yeah, I'd stay far away in cash. And Joval, 7,400. I mean, that price tag's just delicious for Joval. I'll take it all day against Cody Zeller.
Yep, and it's worth noting that Morant back-to-back 9-assist games in the 2 games with Joval back, having that big man in the front court, allow him to run a little bit of that pick-and-roll action with, is extremely useful for Ja Morant. So that is also worth noting. So maybe we do get to see a little bit of bounce back. We got to keep in mind a lot of that he was doing with a fraction of his teammates, a lot of the guys that he would usually count on in that front court to distribute to. So maybe I won't cross him off just yet. Maybe you're talking me back on. I don't know how many shares I end up with, but I'll keep him in the player pool for now. How's that?
There you go. I like it.
All right. LA Clippers traveling to Minnesota, take on the Timberwolves. No Paul George in this one, as we know. On top of that, Patrick Beverley is questionable. For the Timberwolves, Jarrett Culver has been rolled out. Karl-Anthony Towns is doubtful. He's still dealing with the conditioning after coming back from COVID. He's trying to get his lungs and his breath back up. D'Angelo Russell, questionable, dealing with that left leg soreness. Something that has been talking about lingering injuries bothering D'Angelo Russell. He's pretty much been getting the Anthony Davis treatment, the LeBron James treatment, catching a questionable tag every single night. But we'll start with the away team. We'll start with the Clippers. I'll start, and then I'll pass it off to you. I think it's very simple for me. There's no game total. There's no spread yet released, but it's going to be a big one. That's even with no Paul George. You got to imagine that the Clippers should be able to control this game pretty handedly. Kawhi Leonard at 9,400. He's definitely an option, but like I said, with that spread lingering in the back of my mind, I'm not going to be playing him in any cash games. I think we have some better options that we could spend up on. Outside of him, it's very simple for me. It's some of these guys stepping up for Paul George. It's going to be a little bit of Batum. It's going to be a little bit of Marcus Morris Sr. and Lou Williams finally starting to get back in his groove. And the shot attempts are up over the past 2 games. 16 and 10 shot attempts over the last 2 games that George has missed. So that's it. Those are the 3 guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, if I had to pick one guy to play on this Clippers side of the ball, I would play Lou Williams at 5,500. Like you said, he's starting to turn it around. He had a long career where he's just been a scoring machine, and he's really starting to turn that on. And if he gets a fantastic shot matchup here, and he didn't even shoot well last game, but he did get up 16 shots. And so if he gets that same workload and those same shot attempts, and he hits some of them, then 5,500 is a really good price tag for this guy. But the blowout potential is always there, and I don't like being exposed to this game too much either, especially not in cash. One guy that you didn't mention that I would look at though, Serge Ibaka at 5,400. I just don't think that Naz Reid is capable of guarding that mid-range jump shot from Serge. I think that he can eat if he really wants to. I think if there's a game that he wants to really go off, he can. He's got that kind of skill. He's just kind of taking a backseat to these other guys, but I do kind of like the spot for him. So Serge Ibaka is someone I'd look at in GPPs.
See, because I was actually leaning more towards like the Zubac bandwagon as of late, just because he's got that double upside. And if there's, if I'm playing like, let's say a turbo slate, only the 3 8:00 games, which I'm sure DraftKings will have available, and you're not trusting this game, maybe you're leaning on that Brooklyn game and that Charlotte-Memphis game a little bit more, but you still want to have some action. I'd probably look at guys like maybe like a Zubac or a Morris, a guy who, gives us a little salary relief, guys that we're not expecting to play 30 plus minutes anyway, but can get it done in a nice solid point per minute fashion. Lou Williams would easily fall into that category too, with how explosive he's been and how much he's been shooting. And that's probably it. Not touching Kennard. I guess it's worth noting that Terrence Mann played 26 minutes in that last one as well. Wouldn't expect him to see that kind of workload again. Beverly comes back. He definitely won't see that kind of workload again. But he is 3,400, so dumpster dive if you need it. But we'll slide over to the next side of other side of the ball, Minnesota side of the ball. Karl-Anthony Towns out. Beasley has just been crushing it. He's been leading this team in usage so far on the season. Should continue to have big volume shot attempts. He just got his court case cleared up and will be doing community service 120 hours worth once the NBA season is over. So maybe that was something that's looming. Maybe he's ready to ball out. Coming off a big one against Dallas, though, 57 DK points in that last one. 7K, it's a tough matchup. Do you have any interest in Mr. Bees?
I don't. The 7K price tag just drives me away, personally. I mean, if Russell's out, I don't blame people for playing him. I was more comfortable playing him at the mid 6Ks or what have you, but I think that price is just a little too high for me. The only guy that I really actually have interest in on the T-Wolves is Juancho Hernan-Gomez at 4,000. This is a bit of a dumpster dive, but he only managed 9 minutes last game, but he was coming back and, he got 9 minutes because of his conditioning. So if he's going to play that 27 to 29 minutes he was getting before, this is an extremely nice price tag for this guy. So that's the only guy I like on this side of the ball.
Yeah, and I can't blame you for that. Gomez is a guy that they really wanted to play at small forward for quite some time, and we're kind of seeing some of these other guys step up while he was out. I'm expecting Russell to probably sit this one out. So that's another thing, another factor that we could see leading into the blowout. He did play in that last game, but he left early in it. So with that being said, if you wanted to take a stab at a guy like Rubio, but I expect Jalen Noel to get a fair amount of minutes. It's just the guy that they've been trusting to play about a 20-minute role, 16-minute role over the past few games. He's been hitting his shots at a high clip. If you need it, it's there. Again, probably one of those blowout-proof guys where even if it gets out of him, him and McLaughlin would probably still play about 20 to 22 minutes. But again, I think we have a 9-game slate. We probably have plenty of options. We don't necessarily need to worry about those guys right now. Moving on to the next game, the 6th game. We're cruising. Sixth game of the night. New Orleans Pelicans traveling to Chicago, take on the Bulls. This one's going to have some fantasy-friendly action in it. Wendell Carter Jr., Chandler Hutchinson, Lauri Markkanen, Otto Porter Jr. all ruled out. Pelicans have not yet to submit their injury report. But I'll pass it over to you. Talk about this Pelicans team. Who do you have interest in? Fantastic matchup.
Yeah, it is. And, I'm a Bulls fan, and even I know that you target the Bulls in fantasy basketball. That's just kind of a golden rule this year, unfortunately. So yeah, you have to look at these Pelicans guys, and all of them are pretty good. I mean, right now, Josh Hart is going off. I think he had 16 rebounds last I checked for a guard, which is ridiculous. He was questionable tonight. He still played, and so I don't think he's going to repeat that. I'm not going for Josh Hart, but I do like Zion Williamson at 8,100. He's a discount a few $100 less than some of these other guys on here, and he's just going to have a huge game against this weak interior defense. I mean, Daniel Gafford's been terrible, and the Bulls haven't been able to keep him on the floor, and Cristiano Falacio is also awful. So they've been playing a lot of Thad Young at the center with a lot of 3-guard sets, and that's just something where Zion's going to eat. So he's probably my favorite player of the night overall, and that's against my team. So that means something. I also like Lonzo Ball, 6,600. Kobe White's small. He's been playing well on either end of the floor, so Lonzo Ball can really take advantage, and he's been playing well recently. Same thing with Eric Bledsoe. He gets Zach LaVine on the other side of the ball, who's also a terrible defender. Eric Bledsoe's in a great spot too at 5,900.
You took the words out of my mouth, man. We're on the same page tonight. 3 guys I'm looking at right there: Bledsoe, Ball, Zion. I'll probably leave Ingram and Adams for other people to play with if they want to chase that Hart game, so be it. It's worth monitoring. Like you said, they are in the second half of a back-to-back. Hart was questionable coming in here. Having a big game where maybe they just say take the night off tomorrow. And if that does happen, look for guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kira Lewis, and J.J. Redick to pick up a few extra minutes. But that's it. I think the backcourts, we've seen it time and time again. Backcourts have been just decimating the Bulls, and ever since these injuries to the front court, it's the same thing's happening up there as well. They cannot stop a soul. I think it was Vucevic that torched you guys. What was it? Over the weekend, Friday?
Yes, he did. He destroyed us. Luckily, we played him better the next game.
Yeah. How about yours? I'll let you take the Bulls too. How's that? I mean, this is your team. This is your squad. You probably know them better than anybody on our DFS team. So why don't you talk about who you're looking at for them?
Yeah, man, it is, and it's just been such a heartbreaker to watch these guys. Man, they just dropped another heartbreaker to the Wizards, and I think they're going to be out for blood in this one. So I do like some of these guys. I don't necessarily like Zach or Kobe in this one, who are really the offensive weapons on our team, or Thad Young, just because he's so priced up from having a really solid stretch of games. But I like some of these lower priced guys. I like Patrick Williams at 5,500. With Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter and Otto Porter on the sidelines, he's been averaging 34.2 minutes. 15.3 points, grabbing 7.7 rebounds, and he's chipped in 0.7 steals and blocks per game in those few games that he's had all that usage. So I like him at 5,500. I think he's really going to continue this until Markkanen and or Carter comes back. Porter might play. I think he's questionable, so be on the lookout for that. But I still like Patrick Williams, even if Porter does play, because Porter will probably slide to the 4 spot, and Patrick Williams is playing the 3. The other guy I like is Tomas Satoransky. Tomas Satoransky, I like him because Kobe White really has struggled. He's looked really terrible the last few games, I'm telling you guys. So be on the lookout for Tomas Satoransky to take some of those minutes away from Kobe White. I don't think he's going to take the starting job just because so much is invested in White, but I like him at 4,400 as a guy that can get 25 to 28 minutes in the game, and he's going to put up some pretty good value. He's got a really good rapport with Thad Young in that second unit, so it's a good price for him.
Yeah, I love the Satoransky call. Definitely a guy that we're kind of seeing creep up, and he's just been outperforming his price tag. 4,400 is a little bit too cheap. He doesn't need a whole lot of shot attempts. 6-5, 4-4 the last 4 games. He hits them at about a 50% clip. Great for a guard, but he's going to chip in with some rebounds, some steals. And we've even seen the Bulls run a few 3-guard sets. And we might even see that happen against a team like New Orleans if a guy like Josh Hart plays. A guy that they basically play as a big, but he's a guard. So I like that Satoransky call. I'm with it with some Pat Will if you wanted to take a stab at Denzel Valentine. Both these guys should continue to see pretty solid minutes. Pat Will probably a little bit safer in cash just because it has a little bit more rebounding upside. A little bit more of that defensive floor as well, while Valentine's pretty much a scoring threat. He'll chip in a couple boards and assists, but you're really, really banking on that scoring. And then you hit it. I'm not touching Kobe White. I think Zach LaVine's just a little too expensive at $9K. I talked about a few other guys at 86 and 8,400. I think I'd rather play over him. And that's it. So we'll keep it moving to the next game. We have 3 games left. Cleveland traveling to Denver, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. As far as the injury report goes, we do not have one. So there's that. I lied. Cleveland Cavaliers, Matthew Dellavedova out, Kevin Love out, Larry Nance Jr. still out. He's going to be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks after he just had surgery on his left-hand finger. For the Nuggets, Campazzo is probable. Lako Kankar, questionable. PJ Dozier is out, while Gary Harris is out as well. So we'll start with this Cleveland side of the ball. I have some interest in this team. They started Jared Allen that last one. Do they do that again? That remains to be seen. We don't know. But they're trying to get him involved. They're trying a couple of these double big lineups, which is fantastic. It was against, it was against Phoenix, who was also starting Frank Kaminsky, so maybe that's the reason. They might opt to just go with Prince if Denver, does what they normally do with like Millsap. But keep that in mind. If he starts, he's in play for me at 5,800. Andre Drummond at 83. It's hard to ignore Drummond when you see him at that price tag. The only thing you generally worry about is the minutes. If you think this game stays close and you're confident in it and you think that the Cavs can keep it in competitive, at least like a 10-point game, which right now it's about a 9.5-point spread, favored for Denver at a 224.5 game total, then that's the time you play him. It's just a little riskier. GPPs only for Drummond for me at 8,300. Definitely a viable GPP play, but a little too hard. Other than that, I'll be looking at maybe a little Taurean Prince at 46. I expect him to continue to play at least a 25-minute role per night. We'll see some minutes in some games where he's upwards of 30 to 32, probably in those games where we're not seeing Allen start or play as many minutes alongside of Drummond. In those cases, he's got a great defensive floor, decent rebounding floor, and he should chip in the three-point department. So for me, I'll be looking at some Prince. I'll be looking at Drummond and some GPPs, and I'll be looking at some Jared Allen, barring the news that we get.
Yeah, I'm usually on that Drummond train for the GPPs for sure, but I don't think I'm in on this one. I don't know. I just don't like the matchup with him against Jokic and having to guard Jokic and also score. I don't know if the minutes will be there. I do like the Jared Allen play Jared Allen 5,800. I think Paul Millsap does stretch the floor. But I think that they can probably play those double bigs against these guys, especially since they're going to have to probably help out on Jokic, because I don't know if Drummond's going to be able to necessarily stop him down there. So I like 5,800 for Jared Allen. I think that's a really good play, actually. Again, like you said, it is about whether or not he starts. We don't know. We don't know if they're going to do that long term. It seems like he's the big winner for the Larry Nance Jr. injury. So I'm okay with going with him. Some other guys I look at for GPPs, Cedi Osman at 3,800. He's only gotten 15 minutes in the last couple of games, but usually when Larry Nance Jr. missed games before, he would really just light it up. So if he can get 25 minutes or more, he's going to be a really good GPP play at 3,800. He can really destroy that price tag. And then Isaac Okoro, Isaac Okoro, however you say his name, I apologize if I butchered that. But he's at 3,300. I'm going to keep putting this guy out there just because he's getting so many minutes. He's still at 3,300, just such a low price point, and you have to assume at some point he really breaks through on the statistical sense, because he's getting those minutes and they really want to get his development going. So at some point, just like Patrick Williams kind of took off, I expect this guy to really start putting the points on the board. So I'm going to keep playing him in GPPs.
All right, man, don't blame you. Young kid, a lot of defensive ability in Okoro. Just a little too raw for me just now. I don't see the usage. That's what I'm worried about. He really needs everything to fall right. He's hitting shots at a high clip, but he's cheap. So you're getting the discount on that one. We'll slide over to the Denver side of the ball. Nikola Jokic coming in at $11,000. So one of the more expensive guys on the slate, but we know what we're getting when we pay for the Joker. He is well worth it. So it's a fantastic matchup. No doubt about it. If you want to play Jokic, I don't blame you. I probably won't be all on him just because I'm a little bit worried about this game. But if you're running it back with some of these Cleveland guys, he's the main target that you're looking for on Denver. Outside of that, I'll be looking at some guys like Michael Porter Jr., 5,700. Struggled in that last game. Had a little bit of a rough shot selection. He hasn't been playing well. He had a nice little talking to with Jokic, though. A bounce-back game is on the horizon for Michael Porter Jr. Do not forget what kind of talent this kid is. His scoring ability, all of the above, is there. And at that price tag, it's too cheap. Should be a guy that's probably about 65 to 7. And I definitely have some interest in Michael Porter Jr., especially knowing that he's going to probably be able to have his way if he gets any time at the 4 offensively with anybody that he goes against. So those are the two guys I'm really looking at. I wouldn't mind taking a stab at some of these ancillary guys that are in that 4,700 range between Monte Morris and JaMychal Green. They're safe options. They're nice little cash options. Not guys I'll probably be gravitating too much towards in tournaments, though.
You should have stayed going, Mike Pacho. You stole my thunder, man. MPJ. I'm right on the board with you there. I think we're both riding that train thoroughly, and 5,700 is just too cheap for a guy that's got this kind of offensive talent. He did have a bad game. Has had a couple games, but the bounce back's coming, and you should be on board for that for sure. The other guy I actually would look at, is Paul Millsap at 4,900. The Nuggets aren't shy about playing Millsap 30 plus minutes, and if Cavaliers go with Allen at forward again, I think they play Millsap big time, and so I think he's just a nice mid-tier option at 4,900. It's just a good price.
All right, we'll go on. 10 o'clock games, last two games of the night. So pause it, stop what you're doing if you have a quick moment. Really appreciate it, guys. Go give us a thumbs up, a 5-star, subscribe, rate, review, the whole 9, wherever you're listening, whether it's Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is. We really, really appreciate it, guys. It means the world to us, especially these guys I work with. Give them some kudos. Let them know how great of a job they're doing, especially from them holding down this fort. Absolute studs over here. And sometimes it just feels nice to hear it. So I tell them every single day, but I want them to hear from you guys how great they are. But we'll really appreciate that. So we'll keep it moving. The last two games of the night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. OKC traveling to LA, take on the Lakers. We have a little bit of a rematch here. Definitely some news that we need to talk about as far as injuries for the Lakers. Kosis Antetokounmpo has been ruled out, as well as Jared Dudley. Not that either one of those really matter. Alex Caruso, Anthony Davis, both questionable. We saw Davis sit out that last game, while LeBron James is probable for the Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Mr. Shea himself, has been ruled out, dealing with that left knee soreness. This does not look good. Shea missed 2 games not too long ago with the same knee soreness, came back, and now he's missing another one. This is kind of a standalone game. They're not on a back-to-back. They're not in the front half or a back half of a back-to-back, so it's definitely a little alarming. It's something that we're just going to have to keep an eye on. George Hill, Ty Jerome, Theo Maledon, Mike Muscala, all ruled out as well. So this is going to be an interesting game. We're going to kind of see some of this garbage Thunder team again. And, with that being said, they kept it pretty competitive in that last one. Now, are they able to do that without Shea? That's the question that we're talking about. Baisley had a monster game. Diallo had a monster game. Shea had a monster game. So I'm definitely going to kind of walk into this one tempering my expectations compared to that last one without Shea. So I will still be looking at some of these value pieces that we have available to us. Diallo at 65, a little bit too priced up for me. Baisley at 61. If Davis is out, you can look at him. If Davis plays, not going near him. In fact, if Davis plays, I probably will be even a little bit more scared off this game than I am now. But I do have some interesting guys like Isaiah Roby, who was expected to play. He missed the past few games. He's 3,700. This wouldn't shock me if we end up seeing Horford limited in this one. If it gets out of hand early, they're very limited in their front court. Already missing Muscala. As Santino would say, Mr. Pokemon, Alexei Pozjeski. Apologize if I butchered that one. That one's a tough one for me to get out. I have a little bit of a lisp, but he's been assigned to the G League. So right now, the really only backup center that they're going to have available is going to be Roby, and they probably will play him at the 3 and the 4 a little bit too. We've seen them do that. So I do have some Roby action coming in at 3,700. Kenrich Williams has been playing some pretty solid and stable minutes. At least 30 minutes in the past 3 games at 4,700. I don't love it, but another guy that I would assume plays some fourth quarter minutes regardless of the score. So I'll be looking at some Roby. I'll be looking at some Kenrich. And, if you think it stays close, Horford's the guy that you're probably going to want.
I like Basley, 6,100. I like him. I just think they're going to need his offense without SGA in. And, let's just hope LeBron James doesn't take it personal and shut the guy down, which he very well might. But the young man took 21 shots last game. He didn't even shoot it very well. If he gets 21 shots again, he can easily put that mimic that 21-point performance he had last game. I expect this one to be a blowout, though. I really don't like any of these guys. I really think that the Lakers are going to put it to the Thunder. Again, like you said, Kenrich Williams, I think he's been playing solid. I think he's good at 4,700, and Roby at 3,700. I got him on my list also. He kind of missed out on the price bump that all these other guys got with the additional usage because he was injured. So 3,700 seems like a steal for that guy. I like him a lot.
All right. We'll slide over to the Lakers side of the ball. Main thing that we're going to have to monitor is Anthony Davis, of course. If Anthony Davis gets ruled out, the tune changes. We're going to have some interest in a lot of these guys. If they both play, probably not really touching anybody on this Lakers side of the ball. You can look at LeBron. If Davis sits 10-2, absolutely destroyed this team. But again, I'm worried about it. I just don't see myself playing either Davis or LeBron. I could definitely see myself maybe having a share of Schroeder. If there's no Davis, he should be safe. 6,200, just a guy that has been playing well over the past 3 games. And, happens to torch his former team every single time he plays them. So I don't mind looking at some Schroeder. Kuzma will probably be chalk if we see there's no Davis, but at 5,700, he's almost getting priced out. Basically looking at about a 27 to 33 point, window when we play Kyle Kuzma inserted into that starting lineup. And at 5,700, there's still some meat left on the bone, just not as much. So, he's in play, probably better for cash. I would avoid him in tournaments, though. Try to take an edge on the ownership in that one. And that's really it for me.
Yeah, I can't fault you for those. Those are great picks. The only guy I would add would be Talen Horton-Tucker. He did get 27 minutes in the last game. It looks like they're finally playing this guy in games against opponents that aren't very good, which the Thunder aren't very good. I'm anticipating a blowout here, so I think Talen does get some extra minutes. Hopefully 25 to 28 minutes here, and he's got some skill. I think he can put up some really good points. And he's like $4,300, so I do like that play a little bit too. More so for GPPs.
I love the talent. He's great defensively, too. So I'm with you. You always see him whenever he gets minutes. He just racks up steals and blocks. Mm-hmm. Final game of the night, Milwaukee Bucks traveling to Phoenix, take on the Suns here. No game total, no spread. Surprise, surprise. But we do have an injury report. Drew Holiday did not travel with the team. He is in the health and safety protocols as of right now. So there will be no Drew Holiday. He was a late scratch before that last game. Other than that, everybody else should be good for the Bucks. For the Suns, Chris Paul is being considered questionable. He sat out that last one against Cleveland. Jay Crowder is questionable. Abdul Nader is questionable, as well as Cam Payne and Dario Saric have already been ruled out. So, again, this is a late game slate. We're going to really want that news. At least for the Bucks, we have it already with no Holiday. And one would imagine, any game that we see no Holiday, it's going to be a better chance of it staying competitive. And if it stays competitive, we're going to want some interest in Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I definitely have some interest in both these guys. Probably prefer Middleton a little bit more at 7,900. Just a guy that he's just rock solid. Even on those days where Giannis still has a big game, Middleton still usually performs and shows up with about 40 DK points. He has that 50 to 60 point ceiling. So Chris Middleton's probably my favorite option on here. Dante DiVincenzo will see extended run as well. I'll like him a lot more if there is no Chris Paul. He should primarily play point guard. We should see the assist kind of rise. And then if you wanted to take a stab at a guy like Bryn Forbes, he drew the start in the last one. Not a high usage guy. He put up 23 DK points in that one. But over the past 2 games, the dude's shooting 12 of 16. That's a little bit unsustainable. And he's literally about 9 of 12 from deep over the last 2 games as well. So those shooting will probably regress a little bit. He's 3,800 though. There's worse you could do.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand everything you're saying. Don't fault people for playing Giannis. Listen, I don't like this matchup for Giannis. I don't. I think the Suns like to slow the game down, like to play half court sets, and Giannis, he's just not a great jump shooter. So I just don't like this matchup for him. If people want to pay for him, that's fine. I like other guys like Doncic and some other guys that are more pricey on the slate better anyways. Middleton, I think he's priced up for what he provides. I think he's also a fine play, but I just don't have any interest there. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, so I've got no interest in Bobby Portis, and those are the 3 guys I really look at in the Bucks. So really, I don't like any of these Bucks, honestly. I'm probably not going to play any of them on a 9-game slate. I don't fault people for playing them, but personally, I'm not about any of these guys.
Hey, man. You gotta cross some guys out. Yeah, and when push comes to shove, I don't see myself having too much Giannis, but I do see myself playing some Middleton. On the other side of the ball, though, Devin Booker's the main guy that we're looking at. Chris Paul sits out 8,100, a little too cheap for the book. A little bit of an easier matchup knowing that there's no Holiday. Holiday probably would have drew the start against him for most of that time. So took 27 shot attempts in that last one. He's been facilitating over the past 2 games, 19 assists over those 2 games. So Devin Booker, 8,100. I like him. For everything that you said about how the Suns slow it down, the Bucks play at one of the fastest paces. So while it's a pace down spot for the Bucks, it's a pace up spots for the Suns. We should see a few extra shot attempts from these guys. And dating back to last season, Milwaukee's defense is spectacular. The one weakness that they've had has been 3-point shooters. So I'll take some stabs at Devin Booker. If we see Chris Paul is out, if Chris Paul plays, I'll probably leave Booker out there for someone else. And then if Paul's out, Etuan Moore drew that start in the last one, 4,300. Dude just played a boatload of minutes, played 40 minutes. Anytime a guy's in the court for 40 minutes at that price tag, you have to have a little interest in him. Don't expect him to shoot 7 to 10 again, but 4,300, he kind of falls in that Bryn Forbes territory where there's worse you could do if you need the value, and he's there for you.
Those are exactly the 2 guys I have written down. But Booker just 27 shot attempts, and this dude, they're going to push the pace a little bit more with Chris Paul out, so that's something to consider. So you might want to take some stabs at some Bucks just because of that. But again, I just think it's a good spot, a better spot for the Suns than it is for the Bucks, like you said, because they are paced up a little bit as opposed to the being paced down on the other side of the ball. So Booker, I got a lot of interest there, and if CP3 doesn't play, I think you absolutely have to have him, especially in cash games. Just think he's just going to crush that $8,100 price tag. And Etuan Moore, 40 minutes, man. That's all you got to say. 40 minutes or 4,300. I'll do it all day. So those 2 guys.
All right, my good friend. That wraps us up. That brings us home. That is the 9-game slate. And I think we always do good on time, but right under 48 minutes. So we gave people enough time just to stop on their way to work, grab the coffee, get in there nice and early. Say hi to your boss. Get on the bright side of things. But thank you guys for listening. If you have a moment, you want to give us a quick follow on Twitter, you can find me at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria. Keith, let the good people know where they can find you.
You can find me at Ginsberg Beats, G1NSBERGB3ATS, Ginsberg Beats.
Yeah, it's still. I don't think I'm getting that. I gotta get it.
It's meant for people like you not to find me. Okay, Mike.
Yeah, no, that's it. The information. That's why it does it. The information is too good, where you got to go out and search for it. You got to do your own research, and it's to find Keith on Twitter. And once you find that honey hole, you're gonna be bringing home a nice sized salmon every single night. But thank you guys for listening. From everybody over here at Hoop Ball, we will be back tomorrow. I will be on. Geez, man, I'm terrible with this schedule. I got to get my stuff together with this, but I'll blame it on the week and a half off. I will be on, though, nonetheless. Thank you, guys. Take care. Let's go out there. Let's crush some GPPs. Let's take some money home and cure that nice little Super Bowl hangover.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.